Kia ora, and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and together we will be exploring the world of family constellations with facilitators and clients from around the world, looking at different perspectives and experiences in the work, having a cup of tea and just chatting with some friends around their experiences in constellations. We'd love for you to join us. I hope that you enjoy this series as much as I have loved making it.
Kia ora, welcome everyone. Today I'm with the beautiful, amazing Alexandra Finkelstein from Mexico. Hello, Alexandra. Welcome.
Hello, Tracy. Kia ora to all. And that's so nice to listen to these beautiful Aotearoa words. Thank you.
It's so good to have you here.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much for this special time to connect, to discuss, to share. Yes.
Beautiful. So normally I don't introduce people as in some hosts will have a list of things. I allow my guests to introduce themselves in whatever way, shape or form that you'd like to share about you, and maybe a little bit about your inroad to constellations, whatever comes there for you. I'd love you to share.
Thank you. Okay, well, I will introduce myself. I am Alexandra Finkelstein from Mexico. I live in Mexico. I was born in India, New Delhi, and my parents came to Mexico when I was almost 4. So I grew up in San Miguel Allende, which is a beautiful town for UNESCO heritage. And I grew up there until I was 18 years old. I've always had a spiritual inclination in my path since I was a child, seeking for Buddhist monks, seeking for meditation times, contemplation. So I think that has been inherent in my soul, in my life path. Then I studied nearby in different cities. I did business management, a career in business management, but honestly, my pull has always been for psychology and healing and therapeutic work. So at a time while I was studying business management, I decided to engage with Gestalt therapy, and I did a small 2-year program with them on human development. And then I did some bioenergetic work, also 2 more years. And then I did a 1.5 or 2 of logotherapy with Viktor Frankl and other psychological therapies and spiritual paths. I began Reiki. I became a Reiki teacher through 9 years of time. And then I also did my biomagnetic field, which is a work for healing physical body. And then I also engaged with batch flower therapy to heal the connection between personality and the soul. And then in time, I started to get a lot of recommendations to step into constellation work. And I kind of wasn't very sure of it, but I had an important crisis in my life that came to change things. And so, as it usually happens, and so I was invited to experience a constellation with my constellation teacher, trainer, Rafael Ruiz, here in Querétaro, Amdal. And I totally saw the difference, of what it was to work through one particular issue that needed a lot of support from the soul. And things started to change in my life immediately. All the psychic information inside me started to delete, to move in different directions, and I could start processing beautiful teachings from that experience. So I continued my path, I think for 5 or 6 or 7 years as a client, doing constellations, only that. I also had a life experience with an Indian teacher, Sai Baba, which has left his body, and he came to me in a very direct way at some time. So I had an awakening with him at some point. And I did a lot of service with his organization for several years, in devotion, in education for children, in service to third age people, and so I was doing that. I was stepping into constellations, and at some point, I decided I wanted to learn and be in service also through constellations. So I began my training 8 years ago, and I have been totally there, working, learning, and opening my field of service in different areas. Now I am a board member for ISCA since 2019, International Systemic Constellation Association. And I also have I have been a founder member for the Mexican Association of Constellations here in Querétaro, and I did 3 years of education coordination of that area for the association.
Fantastic.
I've also been doing my two trainings now. I'm going for the third one, and workshops and individual work. So I very much trust the field. I trust this work, and I love to work with the soul because it transcends the mind and the limitations of our mind and takes us to a deeper understanding where we can find reconciliation and union with all that we belong and that have come together to life, whatever
That's
form we
wonderful.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And you've reminded me as you're sharing when we met in person in April, and I picked you up from the airport and we just chatted away because you came over to our first intensive here in New Zealand. We chatted away and realized just how much we had in common. There were so many things that you have experienced and done in myself as well. There was a real similarity. So we hit it off really well. So thank you for that reminder. Yeah.
Yes, I think you and I had a strong connection since the ISCA gathering on
Yeah.
22, 23. And I loved your work when you shared us a dynamic around ancestors and our origin. And I think that was a very strong connection. And then we came to see that we have all these things in common. So we might have been sisters, and we are soul sisters in different lands, but still connected.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And you got me curious. So you talked about bark flowers. So in Aotearoa we have the New Zealand flower essences, and there are others that make their own. Is there anyone in Mexico that does that with your native flowers and the fauna and the
Yes,
plants there?
yes,
Yeah.
there is a Mexican flower system also that has been developed. And we also have from South America, Chilean flower systems,
Mm-hmm.
the Saint Germain flower systems, which is also from that area. So, and then in the north of America, we have Flower Essence Society, which does the California flower system, and they have grown a lot. They have done a lot of research. So, yeah, I think it's opening up, and it all stands in the same basis of Dr. Batch, which is that
Yeah.
healing is illness or imbalance in a way is a gift because it means that our soul has already achieved a light beyond our understanding.
Yes.
And what we do with illness is illness shows us that we have the capacity to transcend that lesson and move into our higher virtues, into our higher integration, greater love. Yes.
Absolutely. And it was so interesting because I was just reflecting. So this morning I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, I'm looking at there's a bookshelf in my room, and the one book that jumped out was Bark Flowers for Men. And I was like, oh, that takes me back to a very long time ago in my journey, 20 odd years ago. And
Yes.
then now here we are talking about it. And I did remember thinking, about using plant essences as part of my constellation work as well. So sometimes
Yes.
I will give people a remedy after a constellation, exploring the field like with flower essences and constellating. So whichever remedy you're drawn to, and then constellating that remedy in yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's something to explore and play with. It seems to be.
Yes. Well, look, I have been thinking of opening a workshop with batch flower therapy, learning the 12 healers, which are the character essences of life teachings, and moving into constellations. So if you want, we can explore something like that because it would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can facilitate something on that area. Mhm.
That's the beauty of this work, isn't it? Is that there's the structure, there's the base that holds it, and then it's malleable. There's space to add other modalities, bring that in to be part of constellations as well. So you still have that bowl that's holding it there, the foundation of the work, but it can be it's expandable.
Yes, I think that's the beautiful aspect of diversity in constellations, that a lot of different disciplines and understandings can be also intertwined with constellations. And I think the for me the basic is to just remain very clear about the orders of love and the orders of help, and the implications that we have with the system, the loyalties, and trying not to use these healing therapies to avoid looking at the real systemic issues. So a lot of people want to be immediately healed, don't want to go through the pain or the deeper understanding. And we as constellators have the treasure of knowing that illness is just the top of the iceberg, right? And we need to go deeper down and see where our soul, for the whole system, not our personal soul only, but the whole systemic soul needs to heal. But I also think that there is an individual. I mean, Bert Hellinger used to say that we don't have an individual soul, that the soul was only like a family soul. But I personally think that we do have an individual soul too, that immerses itself in this family soul. And we also have like a personal destiny, a personal process that we come to achieve, to understand, to transcend, to. So yeah, it's interesting how we can manage.
I hadn't heard that belief of Bert Hellinger's,
Mhm.
and that doesn't. I'm like you. I'm on the same thread as you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I believe we have our own personal soul. Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me, how would you describe constellations to someone who knew nothing about it?
Okay. Well, constellation is a modality, a method that invites us to experience a deeper movement that comes from our soul. We can call it the soul, the field, the informational field, the what knowing field, but it's a movement that is unconscious and that holds a dynamic in our life.
Mm,
So we might have an issue in our life and we might think more in a linear way, cause and effect, why we are experiencing something. But when we go into the field, we see that there is another kind of information that moves into the ancestral realm. And usually this intergenerational realm contains everything that has happened in our family soul. So in the soul, there are no secrets.
mm,
And in the soul, no one can be excluded, forgotten, mistreated, separated, because everyone who belongs into the soul belongs forever. And sometimes in our culture, in our days, there is a lot of focus on individuality and how only we are individuals separated from the rest. And yes, we are individuals. We need to individualize ourselves to be a one, but that doesn't mean that we're not connected to others, and that what happens to others has an effect with us, and what happens with us has an effect with others. So in a constellation, we work through representation, and a representation can take place with another person that represents, tunes into someone who belongs into your family system. And it could also be an object. It could also be placed as an object, and the information laying there starts to reveal a field, a movement, an experience. And suddenly we start to have this resonance internally as a seeker when we're sitting down with a facilitator and we're looking at our own field, our own issue, manifesting with representatives. We can see suddenly a movement that even we don't know the story, we can feel the relation to it. We can feel the truth to it. And the beauty of this work is that in a short period of time, the soul always looks for reconciliation and for inclusion. So the facilitator's work is to provide this facilitation to allow the movement of the soul, the movement of the higher spirit of love, to set in and take it to a new movement, a new configuration, a new image, a new, a new image, we can say, where life is going to continue to move forward with all in our heart.
Yeah. Beautiful. Because I was just asked this question this morning and I gave my own description of it to the person. If you're not much of a feeler and you're more of a thinker, what is the, how would you recommend someone step out of that or into constellations?
Yeah. Well, what I like to do is guide the client, the seeker, to take breaths in and out, close their eyes, center themselves. I always explain to them that constellation is a phenomenological work, that you don't have to think or make effort for it to happen or to take place. And the less we think, and the better it works. So I guide them to feel this empty space within them through breath, where they can let go of expectations, thoughts, fears, and just go there to that place and experience that empty space. And then go and breathe into their heart, connect their heart into this empty space. And I invite them to come to the present, to open their eyes, and then to tell me, what do you need today? What do you need now? What does your soul need to heal today or now? And then from there, we start just moving. Okay, my relationship with mother, father, job, health issue, whatever it comes up. And so I start very simple. Just bring the basic, very basic 1, 2, 3 reps, and from there we continue to explore. And that,
Beautiful.
I think that helps. That helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So you shared a little bit about how you got into constellations. What was the biggest shift for you, if you don't mind sharing, or if there's something that you can share in your own personal experience, maybe where you've seen a transformation or you've experienced something phenomenological?
You mean like what has been a process in my life that has changed through
So in
constellation?
constellations, has there been something that has just turned something around very quickly, or was there a constellation that really just wowed you that you've received, or and you don't have to share anything too personal, whatever's there for you. Like this is the whole thing about this conversation, is it's whatever is here. There's no
Yes.
script.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I mean, every constellation is special, and every constellation has its own dynamics that reveal a lot of stuff. I generally like to work from the present issues of the client, and sometimes the beauty for me is when it takes the energy to the collective field, where I can see. I learned this from Angwin St. Just and Carl Roscher in Virginia. And it was beautiful to see how a present issue can run really deep into the transgenerational trauma, you know. So, for example, one constellation that I remember very much was of a lady that came in, and she had alcoholism problems, and and her partner drank a lot too, and her father drank a lot too, and she was wanting to have a separation, a divorce, and she was a lawyer. So we started to see, I mean, I know by hand that alcohol problems have to do with the lack of father in the soul. So I started to approach to see if that was also the case in this session. And yes, it appeared that it was. And so suddenly the informational field started to bring an issue which was major, which was that the grandfather brought the father very young to Mexico, and a couple of brothers and sisters, and they were slaves that were brought from Africa in past 3-4 generations. They were brought to Central America, and at some point from Central America, they could take a ocean and arrive to Mexico and survive here. And that was a really profound understanding, because yes, there was a lot of broken connections with the male lineage, and beyond that with the motherland. So we had to go step by step back to those who lived in Central America, and then we moved into the African field, and then from there we started to connect with village and with Mother Earth of Africa. And a lot of images came up, you know, beautiful images of indigenous, of spiritual, the houses, it was just beautiful to feel the mother energy again. And then we brought that energy back transgenerationally to the men all the way over here, men and women. And then we could see a change in the father and a change in her, and it felt strong. The male lineage was connected again. So I know she's okay. She has been resolving her alcohol abuse, and she did get a separation, but all her law energy was more focused on the fight of helping men, you know. So it was interesting to see how she could start touching ground with more of the feminine energy, and have a better relationship with father, and father with father, without the alcohol process, you know. So alcohol was there to remind them that there was a connection that needed to be undertaken again, you know, a movement, you know.
Yeah, and alcohol takes you out of your body in a way. You know, like certain drugs take you up and certain drugs take you out. But the alcohol does that, right? It expands and it kind of brings you closer to the veil in some way, to be nearer to the ancestors. That's how I see the way alcohol works. To journey with it as well.
Yeah. Then I had another client. Okay, I'm having two memories. One with something that had to do with how say envenenamiento, when you drink some poisoning that
Yeah.
went really. She had an issue with her with her partner and with women in her life that had difficult relationships. And we went all the way back 2, 3, 4 generations, and a poisoning issue also came from way back, which was a secret. And then when we went back to that point, it results that she remembered that this great grandfather had had a lover that everyone said that she might have killed him out of hurt, you know. And
Mm.
this was like a total revelation, because when we saw it happening, she confirmed it, you know. And so that was another way to also integrate these women with the grandfather, with the next women that could deserve love, and honor this man and this woman that had that.
Because even though she wasn't his wife, she belonged in the system, right? Because she was
Yeah,
entangled with him. This is,
exactly.
yeah, for the viewers and the
Yeah,
listeners that are just new to constellations,
yeah,
everybody belongs.
yes. Yes, and then recently I think I've had like 2 constellations. I think the revolution topic here in Mexico has been rising strongly for me. Like I
Mm.
think my soul wants to learn and heal more in that area. I personally have in my family system also, we have had generations that underwent the revolution here in Mexico. But I've been having clients in this year that also one client was telling me that she couldn't hold men in her life. And when we went back and saw the dynamic, the great grandmother had been left a widow because her husband had gone to revolution, and there had been a lot of death and a lot of children that were not taken care of. So the pain of the grandmother was in her soul. She was loyal to her great grandmother. So we set this was an individual session on Zoom with anchorage stones and objects. And so we started to sense the field, and the whole movement of death and revolution, explosion, everything started to rise. And we could see the collective men excluded, the women suffering, you know, the men in her life, and have also healing phrases and connection with that past, so she could welcome men also in her life. So I can say that maybe also my soul is also looking into this modality of healing, right? The relation between men and women. Yes.
Yeah, especially as a facilitator, isn't it? When you get a client and think, oh, that's interesting, that's a little bit like something in my family system, and then the next one comes along and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then the next one comes along, you suddenly go, okay, yeah, the field is telling me I need to look at this as well. There's definitely something in
Exactly.
this for me.
Yes, definitely, definitely. One finds so many beautiful, or not beautiful, but important information in the field that always completes our soul. Because no matter what happened, once we can hold it, we can complete ourselves.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the invitations I could give to people that have a little fear or hesitation to a constellation. And it is that once you are able to integrate and be held by others in a group session, then you can experience a lot of healing and fullness, you know, because even if you're entangled with a perpetrator, for example, a lot of people are entangled with Hitler, you know, and it's part of the collective field, you know, and we don't know it, or with any other perpetrator, you know, in Chile, in Russia, you know, we have a lot of perpetrators in our system, in the collective level, in Japan with the bombs and everything. So when we start looking at those relationships that do belong in a collective way, we can also understand that our soul seeks for this reconnection with
Yeah.
that perpetrator energy. And once we can honor it and bring it up front, then it's not in the unconscious anymore. And then we know that we are part of that too, and that we can seize our fire within, you know, to understand that we all have these polarities, you know, we are all the shadow and the light.
Yeah, because for some people that might sound a little bit like, oh, I don't want to integrate the perpetrator. However, the more, and we see this more and more in constellations, and it's part of the structure of the work, the more you don't look at something, the bigger it becomes and the more it gravitates to your field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more you're not looking at the perpetrator energy within you in your family system, the more you attract it from the outside.
Exactly, yes, there is
So
always an
when we can
attraction.
look at our own stuff and our own family system stuff, and it may be someone way back, but everybody has a place in our system. And then then it's like the system can breathe out and there's some ease, and then there's just not this magnetic pull
Mhm.
to that energy anymore.
Yeah, I think belonging is something we should honor constantly, you know, all the time, and remind ourselves that we all belong in different ways. And as Bert Hellinger said in The Greater Love, he called it in Spanish el amor del espíritu, the spirit, the love of the spirit. I don't know if
Sounds so
it's
much sexier in Spanish
yes,
than English.
el amor del espíritu. Yes, it's a beautiful understanding, you know, like it's this evolving love that holds us all together beyond good and bad, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
And
you
it's
see it time and time again, right? That where the victim energy, the victim and the perpetrator, they want to come together in that way to find peace,
yes.
to find that, yeah, so that the pieces can all come together so that there's a wholeness within our
Mhm.
field, within our system, and everything belongs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the most painful ways in which we can see and live an implication, a systemic entanglement or implication, is through the law of compensation. Sometimes it's a law we don't talk about a lot, but we see its effects a lot. And whatever has not been well compensated is always in search of compensation. So that's where we see the most difficult aspects in our life, you know. And yeah, I think
Can you give a description of it for the listeners?
yeah, yeah. For example, if you have, let's say, someone robbed immensely in the family, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he made himself or herself rich at the cost of others' suffering. And through generations, there are sometimes family members that can enrich in the same way as the first one, which did a wrongdoing. And then there are others that cannot enrich themselves. And suddenly we start seeing these issues move forward without knowing why. And as it continues unresolved, we inherit this compensation to the next generations.
Mm.
See, so sometimes we need to go back and see initially where was the loss of compensation so we can balance again and restore what we need to restore in a real way, you know, to others, and maybe work through greed or work through non-deserving attitudes, or, you know, and heal that lineage to rebuild again
Mm.
a new way of making business, money, land, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That reminds me of Mark Wallen's. I'm pretty sure it was Mark. And he was sharing about having a client, it was a brother and sister, and they they could make money really easily. They were millionaires, but they kept losing it really easily
Oh
as
yeah.
well, both of them. Do you
Yeah,
know
I
this?
think I read I think I
Yeah.
read it, but please share it. Yeah.
And so he worked with them both individually, and their great great grandfather or great grandfather had made his fortune with slaves.
Mhm.
And so one was entangled with the energy behind the money of the fortune within the family, and the
Mhm.
other was entangled with the lives of those whose lives were entangled. So they were both entangled, but different sides of the energy field.
Mhm.
And so when he worked with them both, there was able to honoring those whose lives they'd made their fortunes on, and acknowledging the imbalance and the wrongdoings on the other side, coming to some balance within the family system, and then both of the siblings were able to, from then on, keep the money because they'd make this money and they could make money really easily, but they couldn't hold on to it.
Exactly.
Mm,
Yes, yes.
and finding that
That's
balance.
Yes. For example, also we can see the balance law taking place when we lose our place in the family system, when we start taking the places of another, when we give more to, when we take a parental figure to our parents, for example, or to our younger brothers, um, brothers or sisters, or if we give more than we should to an equal partner, friend, or couple, or work, all this, when we give more than the other can pay back, then there is also an anger. There is also something that will break the relationship, and if we take the place of a dead one, a dead brother, a dead sister, we're also paying the compensation for the death or for the life,
Mhm.
so it's so important to understand that we need to let go of those difficult destinies and learn to take our place, no matter how small it is. It is the strongest place we can take.
That's right. It's the perfect place for us,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes.
Do you have a favorite teacher or someone that you admire in the constellation field? Is there
Mm.
um, or favorite author?
Well, I have so many. I think I admire all,
Hmm.
honestly. Honestly, it's always a work of art to get to see another facilitator work, because there is always a lot of light in it. Obviously, well, I respect and admire my teacher, Rafael Ruiz. From him, I learned the work. I loved to see Bert Hellinger's work. I had the opportunity to be in two trainings with him, one without Sophie, one with Sophie, and it was a life changer. I took also a trauma formation with Dr. Angwin St. Just, and I admire her work very much too. Her smiling, nurturing, compassionate way of delivering trauma work. And I love her books because they step into the collective field very much.
She calls herself a traumatologist, doesn't she? She's
Yeah.
she's very good. She takes because some people, trauma, it's overwhelming, but she takes it and gives it to you in a way, or explains it and shares it in a way that is is doable, right? It's like one bite at a
Yes.
time. Yeah, and
Yes,
understand.
exactly. And I loved watching Carl Rocher work too, because it opened to me a field of healing voices, which I had not experienced before. And in some ways, I think I also have a lot of channeling qualities that I have not really opened myself, but they are there and I feel them. So for me, it was also like a beautiful opportunity to allow myself to do more, you know,
Mm.
to trust myself more in those abilities, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I like Mark Wooling very much. I respect his work. Shavasti that I met with you. I don't know, I've always had a fond place for him in my heart. And connecting with him and having time to spend with him gave me the opportunity to know what a beautiful soul he is, and that
Mm.
his teachings are authentic with what he says, you know. So I appreciate his work very much, his person. Okay, Susie Tucker, I met her in the US. Leslie Nips, I love her work. I love her presence and her
Mm.
teachings. Also, she's a beautiful, strong soul. And I think I connected with her a lot in the first West Coast intensive constellation that I took, where I met also Francesca Mason Boring, which is also another beautiful teacher that I appreciate very much in my soul. And so with Leslie, we had a connection with the Arizona field. I think with the Indian, with that part of having the altar, the table, the ritual, and with the orders of love and the orders of help and the primary feelings and the secondary emotions and all these that Bert Hellinger spoke. So I like her work very much. One teaching I had beautiful from Leslie recently in a workshop that she gave for ISCA was working through parallel lifetimes that happen at the
Yes.
same time.
Yeah.
And that was amazing for me because I have done 2, 3 more sessions on my own, self-constellation, and I have explored big changes with that. So I deeply appreciate for her with that teaching. Yeah. And, and Francesca Mason Boring, I honor and admire her work very much with the indigenous. She
Mm.
has taught me and taught me in my memories of my indigenous roots, because I do have past lives in indigenous land, and I have been searching to connect more to my indigenous origins in this lifetime. And I love the connection with nature and the how to say the rain colors, the rain colors when you become a rain color, when you connect to the rain, to the climate, to the earth, you know,
Mm.
and having all this representative field in nature has been also a very beautiful connection. And I try to take this. I have a module in my training. Rafael does have a module too in his training with nature. So I do this training with nature constellations also. And all my students say that they really enjoy it because it takes them out of the daily rhythm of time and they become more at peace and at ease, you know. So I think at these times when the earth is becoming so technological and we are having so much alienation in our ways of life, returning to nature is really, really important. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So I love Francesca's work. I like Cecilio Regojo's work too, in organizational field. I haven't been able to take something with him formally, but what I've received from him in different workshops has been very nice. Jan Jakob Stam also.
Mm.
We
Mm.
had I've had some sessions where I have been able to participate in his workshops on the orders of change and transformation. And those have been very helpful in an organizational way. Um,
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I love Marianne Franke. Sorry.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
I've met
education.
probably 80% of those people that you've just shared. with Karl Heinz Rauscher. He was in Australia, and for me, I had sound was starting to come through me, and I was like looking around at other facilitators because New Zealand really, this is many years ago, hardly anything happening in the constellation world. Sort of, it's been an ongoing thing. And so
Mm.
I'm like, oh, there was a part of me that didn't want to step out of the box. I wanted to just be doing constellations this way because there were others in my life. There were things going on in my life that I wasn't voicing, that I wasn't being able to use my voice in. And interestingly enough, so Carl comes along and he's using his healing voices, and we're in this big chapel in Sydney. And then I realized that I could see sound. I could see it moving around the space.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
like, wow, and it really touched me on many levels, not just that, oh, I can see it, but it was like a felt experience as well. And then I came home and I started really stepping into opening up and using my voice and being okay with it coming through, because quite often in a constellation there might be grief and the whole field is stuck and they just can't get that grief out. Nobody can acknowledge it, and
Mm.
so there might be the wail, the grief wail that comes through me, or that might be just a really good scream, but in a way that is like soul moving. Yeah. So sometimes I see the sound come in different shapes. Sometimes it comes in words for me. And then I just trust that whatever comes through the field will hold it. I sometimes thinking, how on earth am I making that sound? Because I don't think I could even do that if I tried. But it's coming out of me. And I just trust, again, as a representative, but as a facilitator, I'm allowing it to be myself to be the conduit for it to come through. Mm.
Yes, yes.
So really grateful to Carl to witness his work, which allowed me, I gave myself permission to step into another realm and another part of myself. Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, once I think you and I had a conversation around this, and I asked you, how do you envision yourself as a shaman or as a healing woman? And you said more like a healing. Uh,
Yeah,
would you like to share on
I had a
that?
lot of resistance to the word shaman,
Hmm.
um, or shaman, or however you want to call it. More that I felt that as a shaman, there was a process, right? And yes, I guess you could say that the things that I endured, the experiences that I've had in my life, have been part of my ritual of giving me of a rites of passage, but not in a way that felt comfortable for me to call myself a shaman. So I would call myself a medicine woman or yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
a healer or a healing, yeah, a healing conduit or something like that. But I'm easier these days with the word shaman. Mm. I think
yeah.
shamanic practices, I suppose, would be a way, but I don't call myself a shaman. Mm.
And as a medicine woman, with the drum making you do, which
Hmm.
I deeply have my great gratitude to you that you accepted to do our 2-day retreat to create our drum in New Zealand with Joe at the mountains.
Let's talk
And I
about pack it in.
Yes, I love playing that drum. Would you like to share with us how do you bring that drumming womb experience, or how does it work for you with constellations?
Yeah, so I find that the drum is another, obviously it's a sound instrument, but again, that was another thing that I never ever thought I would be making a drum. I never thought people would hand me drums at circles and stuff like that. So I didn't, and I'd be like, no thanks. They'd be, you're a shaman. I'd be like, no, I'm not. Denial, denial, denial.
Yeah.
And then I had a dream one night that I had to make a drum, and I woke up going, what the far out? Really? You want me to make a drum? I knew that it was that part of my soul that I don't argue with it because it's always going to push you in that direction anyway. So I made it, and what it does when I'm using the drum in the field, it moves energy immensely. The other day in the far north, if I could have put my mallet, drum mallet, through the drum, it just, the intention was that the sound was going to be so 1,000 times stronger than what I could even produce. And the field felt it. It just shifted everything. Other times it's a gentle rhythm that holds the heartbeat, and I'm using the drum to expand the energy for people. So it has, it's an amazing tool. So when people come and train with me, I get them we birth a drum together. So what that shows me is it shows me where people are needing resources in their lives. So the process of birthing the drum, because you're creating the frame, you're connecting with the wood, putting the frame together. Sometimes it's already pre-made, but I've gotten to the point where I get them to create their own unique drum frame, and then so the connecting into the wood to the ancient roots of where that tree comes from and the land that it comes from, and then connecting into the skin of the animal and knowing that you're going to give this animal another life. You're bringing it back to life in another way, and then your connection to it and what is it here to teach you. And then the binding of it is a whole next level process of putting it all together, of getting the binding to hold, to support, to the tightness, because if you don't get it right in the back of it, then when it dries, it'll be all wobbly. But if you get it just right, and I work with you to do that, then you've got a really good solid base to work with, and it can be an amazing tool to clear yourself, to clear the space around you, to meditate with too. There's so many good things about having a drum that I never knew in all my resistance at the time, and I'm so grateful that I listened. So grateful that I
Yes.
listened to my guides. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it's amazing how you can open and close a field
Mm.
and move a field with a drum, right?
Well, I did
Mhm.
that at the intensive, didn't I? At the
Yes,
end of the intensive, we did a big exercise around the gifts from the ancestors. And I think we had about 90 people in the room at the time. So we had two
mhm,
lines of people, and I drummed, and it just held the energy for everybody. Yeah. And I
yes,
also spent quite a bit of time outside drumming with the horses that we had at the event as well, while they were going through a process with the clients. So,
mhm,
oh,
yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Well, I have brought back from you that practice, and I just invite all the ancestors at the beginning and at the closing, and I like to add singing. Because
yes.
I think I've been taking singing lessons, and I think that the voice also is a channel. Yeah, so
Yes.
yeah, so it's magical. Something really happens when you bring the musical part to the field.
I think, our ancestors sang. If you look
Exactly.
back, they sang a lot more. As society has gone on, more and more, we shut down. We're more
Yeah.
of like, oh, just watch that. I'll watch the television, or I'll watch the screen, or I'll do that. But our ancestors sang, whether it was, I mean, yeah, we've got the church, but then there's also, you go back to the people of the fire, they sang together. It was a communal thing. They shifted energy, right? They moved the magic, the voice. There's so much power in it.
Yes, so true. Thank you for bringing that image right now in,
Mm.
because I can feel it. Yes, all communities sing, and they tend to sing in circles, and at the fire and at lunch and in the mornings and for the birth of a new baby. And you know it is part of our soul. And I think one of the richness that I have been discovering in my practice that I would like to invite people is to take constellations to connection with life, you know.
Yeah.
It is a process per se, but still, I think as facilitators, we have the opportunity to offer people life experiences. And that way, we're not only healing a trauma or a difficult movement or interrupted movement of love or this, but it is also like being part of a movement of reconnection to roots in life through the food we serve at a gathering or at a workshop, or through the music, through the chanting, through whatever we can do to bring our life, you know, to be aware of, as you say, not being only receptive, but also bringing our energy and giving, you know. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, because I think the purpose of all our work and all this work that has been delivered is that we have the capacity to move back into a full life, to reconnect, to step out and look at the sun, to be sensitive to the river, to be able to feel the pain of a friend, to be able to hold ourselves in our own pain, you know, to have the resources to move through that and not continue reproducing violence and fear and isolation and all this difficult stuff that we can't get stuck in so many system beliefs, you know, what's right, what's wrong, what should be said or not said, shown or not, you know. It's like if we can go back to our humanity and be ourselves, you know, be
A little
one.
bit of deprogramming.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to go, if I would be able to do a deprogramming as it is, but at least reprogramming,
Yeah.
connecting
Yeah.
into the field of life, you know?
And if you think of the way serotonin works with the neural pathways in the brain, so it's like it's kind of like jumping off that train line, that pathway, that
Yeah.
neural pathway, and onto a new one that has got the new programs. Right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a way to see it. At some point, our neurological connections are vital. I was having a talk with someone today or yesterday precisely on that, of investigations, scientific investigations. Oh, I'm taking a Enneagram workshop, which is Enneagram is another modality of the ego and its fixations that limit the unity of the soul. But that's another area of development. But precisely, the teacher was sharing with us that there has been a lot of scientific research that, like, in two different rooms and places, to one person they would set in light, you know, light into the brain, and the other person that has no connection whatsoever has the same response through the
Amazing.
neurological brain, you know. And it really, there is a developmental and strong connection between our neurological patterns and connections. So yeah, to have a new habit, a new way of life, a new way of nurturing, I think who knows how to do that is important.
Mm. Well, we're just about coming to a close, but I'd love you to share with the listeners and the viewers a little bit about what's coming up for you, what you're planning for Mexico for next year.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for opening that window. Yes, we in ISCA, International Systemic Constellation Association, we are holding place for a face-to-face gathering next year on Mexican land in Mérida, Yucatan, which is a peninsula at the south of Mexico. You can fly in from Cancun, which is a beach nearby, 4 hours away, or you can fly to Mérida directly, or you can fly to Mexico City and then to Mérida. So this gathering will take place from Monday, 27th of October to Friday, 31st,
Mhm.
2025. We are having our venue, Holiday Inn, in the main central area of the main avenue downtown. And we're going to be providing a lot of hotel options, transportation options, etc. Archaeological sightseeing. It's an area full of history, of Mayan culture, post-classical, classical, and pre-classical, and there is also a history of colonization there, from the Spanish, from the French, from the British. So there is a lot of production of natural fibers that took place, a lot of slavery at the time. But it's a beautiful city up to this day in its traditions. And we are opening the invitation for facilitators worldwide, ISCA members and non-members, to come and join as a participant, as a presenter, and as a keynote. We will have some keynotes that are invited for this opening. We pretend to have a beautiful shaman. We're already waiting for his final response. But the idea is to connect with our roots, with our Mayan roots, learn from them through time and space, because they were keepers of time and space. And also, we want to move beyond, I don't know if the word is beyond, I'm sorry, I don't have the title completely correct at this time, but it's moving together through culture and time. So the idea is that if other cultures come, which will be the case, then we can find common grounds and explore our collective fields in Merida through the Mayans. So it's going to be a beautiful opportunity to spend 5-7 days together.
Yeah.
And then we end on the 31st, and the 1st and 2nd of November, our Day of Dead in
Yes.
Mexico. So there is a lot of ritual, a lot of altars, a lot of culture, game of football, Mayan football in the central downtown. There are many things going on. So it really is a
So
beautiful time.
just to clarify, nobody gets sacrificed at the end of that one.
No, no.
Alexandra
Not
shared
at,
with me earlier that
not
in
at this
ancient
time.
times, the winners of the football games would get sacrificed. So nobody.
Exactly. No, no, here, neither winners, neither losers. No one gets sacrificed. We only get to see and enjoy. Well
Just
said, Tracy.
clarification for anyone in case you were wondering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's an open invitation. We will soon be putting out the links for the website registration, early bird prices, and we will be managing support for anyone who wants to join.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. It's on my list. And then I can, as you know, that I have my own cacao business as well. So I look forward to going and exploring more about cacao and the ancient
Yes.
histories through Mexico and further down. Yeah.
Yes, you will find a lot of that because cacao
Mm,
was totally ingrained in our culture and in Mayan culture.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is where it begins, right? This is where it begins.
Yes, yes.
Ah,
Yes, so we're
amazing.
looking forward for that. We just came back from a trip, the Mexican organizing team, and we were able to move around and explore the distances for the sites and the safety measures that one needs to take, and if you're going to rent a car or take a guided trip. And and we're going to provide all that information. The hotel venue is also providing very nice ambience and there are many restaurants around. And basically, life in Merida takes place at night because the days it's hot and humid. So people tend to go into homes and offices from 1 to 5. And so we will be working during the morning. We will have meal from 1 to 3. We will have work from 3 to 6:37, and then we will have nightlife free for to move around, explore, dine, go into museums, Mayan Museum, and there are many music museum. There are many nice, interesting places, and just to walk downtown, and have the beautiful, beautiful meals that Merida has to offer, which are only from Merida. You cannot really get them in the rest of Mexico.
Okay. So like in the province and the different flavors that are there, yeah?
Yes, yes. So this
Oh,
has
that
been
sounds
between.
amazing. Sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to that. What
And
magic we can create.
yes, it's like I honestly loved and value highly what you created together with your organization in Ansky when you brought together the international field of people, practitioners, facilitators, participants, and also brought the field of the Maori in
Mm.
very real ways to us, through the rituals, through the communities, through the participation in the workshops. And we all that do not live or didn't know about Aotearoa before, we got to experience this full immersion of energy, of the healing energy of your land, and the needs of all the rest of us, and how we can give something to you and you to us. And
Mm.
that's what I am looking forward also here, that we can also exchange and connect,
Yes, there's a few of us that wanting to come over. So
Yes, yes. I'm so happy for that.
I don't even have words for it. It's exciting. It's just the thought, just the thought of it is exciting. So just seeing how we can make that possible for
Yeah,
everybody. Hmm.
yes,
Yep.
yes.
So I think on that
Good.
note, we'll leave it here. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we sign off?
Well, I would just like to say that I honor and respect everyone who has the chance to listen to our podcast. And thank you for giving yourself time to hear and receive from me and from Tracy, from us. And just open yourself to life, to the field, and
Mm,
listen to what it wants to give you. Yeah.
mm, beautiful. And I can um, highly recommend Alexandra's work. So if they wanted to find you and maybe do a session online with you, or if someone's in your area and they want to come and work with you, how would they find you?
Okay, they can find me easily through social media, Facebook and Instagram, Alexandra Finkelstein Jaffe. Mhm. And they can find me also directly through WhatsApp, +1 52 442 249 8542. So that's basically how I am being in connection with my clients. And I have also a business page, fan page, Shoshana and Heart Constellations. So you can also find me there. And that's it. Yeah.
Great. I'll get those links off you and we'll share them with
Mhm.
the
Thank you.
people here as well. So
Yeah.
much
You can
love
also,
and sorry.
yeah, you can also connect with me through Iska.
Mm.
Um, Iska at Iska, how say guion,
Well,
not the dash, the ah, okay, you will write it down, but I have an Iska email, iskanetwork.org. Okay, so
yeah,
Alexandra at iskanetwork.org. So we'll get that there too.
okay.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom and sharing, and it's always a pleasure spending time with you, my friend.
Thank you, Tracy. Me too.
And yeah, for the listeners and the viewers, I hope that you've received some insight, maybe a little bit of something from this episode.
Mhm.
And yeah, I look forward to seeing what comes forward in the future for all of us.
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to sign off and wish
Okay.
everyone a beautiful day or evening wherever you are in the world. Thank you for listening. Head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at tracy.cartwright. That's Tracy with no E, .cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.